This is going to start with something as fundamental as your shoes. Hey, you know what they say, life's a bitch, learn how to fuck it. What is up, people? Hitting legs right now. I'm just gonna go over my leg day. I'm gonna try to get most of it done before Nick gets here, just so we don't have to sit and talk while training, because obviously we're both prepping and we just kind of like to keep the momentum and pacing. But with that being said, I just want to go over a couple things that I see people do. It's gonna seem really dumb to some of you, but I guarantee some of you that think it's dumb are still doing it wrong. So, seated hamstring curls. This is my first exercise. What you want to be doing when you're doing this is make sure your ass is all the way back to the seat. Make sure this pad is as firm on your legs as possible. And you literally want to pull all the way back to here. If you notice, this is my ending position. That's a big thing, is I see people shortening their rep. The next thing that I see people doing, and I think it is coming from a place of good intentions, is I'll see them letting the weight all the way down and hitting, and when you do that and you're setting the weight down, you're now losing that tension for it. So if you watch me, I'm going all the way down, holding, and I'm catching it right before I hit the top. Really make sure that you are squeezing at the hardest contraction, and then you are carrying the weight back up. If you notice me, I'm keeping the same amount of tension all the way through with the pause in the middle. You should not be going down fast and then just letting it up. Down fast and letting it up. If you watch me, I'm going the same tempo through the whole thing. Super easy to mess up on, but everybody does it. Okay, so extensions. Couple, obviously they're pretty straightforward, but there are a couple things that I see a lot of people doing that they can do better, right? So the first thing, a lot of people that I see doing leg extensions, they're just throwing it like super quick, right? The other thing that I see people doing is they will bring their legs down to just this position. So from the side, if you look, I am fully stretching and letting my quads pull under. Some people, if you're not getting that stretch, you can put a pad underneath to sit a little higher, because again, like we talked about on the back day, on the chest day, the idea is to stretch the muscle as much as possible so you can fill it as much as possible with blood, right? The other thing that people do, I'll see guys that are like turning their feet out, turning their feet in, going straight. If you're hitting extensions primary focus is not to build the sweep, regardless of how you have your feet positioned, how it looks, full speed, your full stretch, drag up, fully extend, really flexing at the top, and then carry it all the way through, explode up, catch it, carry it all the way through. And that is what it should look like. So the key takeaways from here, sit in the stretch, good range of motion, good tempo, and then really focus on that contraction at the top. Don't worry so much about feet positioning. Really, you want to position your feet in a way that they're lined up with your hips, right? My hips, through my knees, through my shins, through my feet. So nothing's coming across. I'm getting no knee pain, no hip pain. I'm just targeting the quads like I'm wanting. All right, hack squat. So hack squat, this is going to start with something as fundamental as your shoes. I do all of my squats in socks so I can be flat-footed. I want no arch support. I want to be able to evenly disperse the weight throughout my foot. I do not want to be angled forward. I do not want to be angled backwards. Even dispersion. Best way to do a hack squat is you want to bring your feet as low as they can possibly be on that sled without your heels peeling up. If your heels are peeling up, you are too low and you need to walk further up. I still am in the camp that if you're squatting like all the way up here with your feet at the top of the sled you're definitely going to want to work your way back so you're able to get down lower on the sled. So now that we got our feet positioned and we know how low we want to be on the sled, the next thing is our foot angle and toe positioning. So a lot of people that squat will have one of two things, and obviously this is just what am I saying? I'm just looping everybody into these groups. Obviously there's people with no pain, but people that experience pain squatting, it's usually knee pain or lower back pain. How to avoid the knee pain? A lot of people, when they're squatting and pushing down, and they're pushing up through their toes, which is forcing a lot of pressure up through your knee joint, especially through the patellar. So how we want to do that or mitigate that is we're going to step a little wider. Obviously this is dependent on your hips and your own personal anatomy. For me, I found that with my feet slightly angled out, I alleviate a lot of my knee pain and a lot of my lower back pain. And now what I'm going to do is, as I squat down, I'm going to think to push my knees out over my toes and open up through my hips. So I'm pushing out, and this is where I'm ending up. I'm up, pushing out, and this is where I'm ending up. As you can see, my feet are firmly planted, my knees are pushing out or over my toes, and I'm getting all of this through my quad. My hamstring is touching my calf. I'm in the most lengthened position for the quad, and then I am driving up. So again, you want to tempo it down. So I'm catching that weight, catching the weight, opening up, and then I'm here. My quads are open, I can feel my quads engaging, adductors engaging, and then I'm thrusting up. So like you guys noticed, as you squat, your focus should be to get your hamstring to your calf. Whenever you are doing a quad exercise, you want the quad to be as lengthened as possible. So if I'm doing an extension, this is as lengthened as possible. If I'm doing a squat, this is as lengthened as possible. So these guys that are squatting here and sitting up, you're not lengthening, you're not getting as much quad activation. So hopefully you guys can take away something from that. I'm going to go over leg press. So leg press, a lot of the similar mechanics to the hack squat. When you're getting down, you again want to have your toes as low as possible without them peeling up as you train. Common misconception with leg training is people will be like, oh, I want big hamstrings. Well, guess what? Anytime you have both hip movement and knee flexion, you are only getting maximum like 60% of hamstring activation. So in order to activate your hamstring, you need to have either one or the other. Knee flexion or hip movement, meaning RDLs for hip movement and lying hamstring curls, seated hamstring curls for knee flexion. So the outside of that, everything else you're not targeting hamstrings. I have pretty meaty hamstrings. I do only 2 exercises. Hamstring curls, RDLs. I do them on Saturdays. That is it. So yeah, any of these presses, you're primarily going to be hitting your quads. So as I go up, these are independent right now. But as I'm squatting, I'm opening up these hips, and do you see how they're ending outside of my body? And you can really see my quad is fully lengthened, my ass is still in the seat, it's not curling up out of it, and then I'm pressing up, right? So a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll bring their feet in narrow, they'll be like, I want to hit quads. So they're squatting like this. I'm not saying squatting narrow like this is necessarily bad, but it is not as advantageous as just going slightly wider, opening up your hips. You're going to mitigate knee pain and really put yourself in the best position to, avoid injury, get maximum recruitment, and have maximum amount of drive, because you're not going to have as much drive from this position. You're pushing your knees into your chest. It's hard to breathe. You're not in a good place to press through because of how your knee position is. You're gonna get a ton of torque on your knees, whereas when you're outside and you're opening up a little wider, it's much easier. So those are my biggest takeaways for quad day, well, leg day. Obviously, Wednesdays is primarily quad focused. The only other exercise that I would do on my leg days, obviously, is calves, which is pretty self-explanatory. Train your calves like anything else. I do 3 sets of 20, you know, so I have 1 exercise a week. So calves, super cake, and then I do glute drives, but I just trained and my back's blown up. And then, yeah, I do a hip press, which is essentially the same thing as this. You're going to open up the hip, press through your toes, and yeah, so hopefully this helped. Like I said, I'm just going over kind of things that I see a lot of. Obviously, if there's something else that you have a question on that's more technical, I'm more than happy to answer that. Just comment below or DM me. But yeah, anyway, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for the support. Next time you guys see me, I'm gonna be even more shredded. Tato's on his way home, so I'll see him again in like sometime next month. Just started taking all my hardeners 2 weeks ago, so by the next time I see you guys, they'll be fully kicked in my system and I'll be looking extra crispy. So appreciate the support. Please like, comment, subscribe, and as always, peace out, bitches.